Thereupon Forgal the Wily went towards Emen in the garb of a foreigner, as if it were an embassy from the king of the foreigners that came to confer with Conover, with an offering to him of golden treasures of the white foreigners, and all sorts of good things besides. Their number was 3. Great welcome was made to them. When he had sent away his men on the 3rd day, Cu Chulainn and Conall and other chariot chiefs of the men of Ulster were praised before him. He said that it was true, and that the chariot chiefs performed marvellously, but that were Cu Chulainn to go to Domhnall, the soldiery in Alba, his skill would be more marvellous, and if he went to Scacha to learn soldierly feats, he would excel the warriors of all of Europe. But it was for this that he proposed it to Cu Chulainn, that he might not come back again, for he thought that if Cu Chulainn was in her friendship, he would get death thereby, through the wildness and fierceness of the warrior yonder. Cu Chulainn consented to go, and Forgal bound himself that, were he to go in that time, he would give to Cu Chulainn whatever he wished. Forgal went home, and the warriors arose in the morning and set themselves to what they had vowed. They went, namely Cu Chulainn, and Laeghaire the Victorious, and Conover, and Colin Cernach, say some, went with them. Cu Chulainn then went across the brae to visit the maiden. He spoke with Emer before he went in his ship. The maiden told him that it was Forgal who had desired him in Emain to go and learn soldierly feats, in order that Emer and he might not meet, and she told him to be on his guard wherever he went, lest he should destroy him. Each of them promised the other to keep their chastity until they met again, unless either of them should get death thereby. They bade farewell to each other, and he turned towards Alba. When they had arrived at Domhnall's, they were taught by him to blow a leathern bellows under the flagstone of the small hole. They would perform it till their souls were black or livid. They were taught another thing on spear, on which they would jump and perform on its point, the champions coiling around the points of spears, or dropping on its head. The daughter of Domhnall, Dornalla by name, fell in love with Cu Chulainn. Her form was very gruesome. Her knees were large, her heels had turned before her, her feet behind her, her dark grey eyes in her head, her face as black as a bowl of jet. She had a very strong forehead, her rough, bright red hair in threads round her head. Cu Chulainn refused to lie with her. Then she swore to be revenged on him for this. Domhnall said Cu Chulainn would not have the true knowledge of what was taught until he went to Scacha, who lived eastward of Alba. So the 4 went across Alba, Cu Chulainn and Conover, the king of Ulster, and Conall Cernach and Laeghaire the Victorious. Then before their eyes appeared to them unto Emen Macha. Now Conover and Conall and Laeghaire were not able to go past it. The daughter of Domhnall had raised that vision in order to sever Cu Chulainn from his companions, to his ruin. This is what other versions say, that it was Forgal the Wily who raised that vision before them to make them turn back, so that Cu Chulainn through his returning should not fulfill what he had promised him in Emain, and thus would be shamed thereby. Or were he peradventure to go east to learn soldierly feats, both known and unknown, of Aoife, he should all the more get death through being alone. Then of his own will, Cu Chulainn went away from them on an unknown road. For the powers of the girl were great, and she wrought evil against him, and severed him from his companions. Now when Cu Chulainn went across to Alba, he was sad, and gloomy, and weary for the loss of his comrades, for he knew whither he should go to seek Scacha, for he had promised his comrades not to return again to Emain unless he had reached Scacha or found death. When he saw that he was astray and ignorant, he lingered. While he was there, he beheld a terrible great beast like a lion coming towards him, which kept regarding him, nor did him any harm. Whatever way he went, the beast went before him, and, moreover, it turned its side toward him. Then he took a leap and was on its neck. He did not guide it then, but went wherever the beast liked. 4 days they went in that wise, until they came to the bounds of dwellers, and to an island where lads were rowing on a small loch. They laughed at the unwonted sight of the hurtful beast yonder doing service to a man. Cu Chulainn then leaped off, and the beast parted from him, and he blessed it. He went on then, and came to a large house in a great glen. There he met a maiden of fair make in the house. The maiden addressed him and bade him welcome. "Welcome thy coming, O Cu Chulainn," said she. He asked whence she knew him. She answered that they both had been dear foster children with Ulbecken Sexa. "When I was there, and thou learning sweet speech from him," said she. The maiden gave him to drink and eat, and then he turned from her. He then met a brave youth who made the same welcome to him. They exchanged converse between them. Cu Chulainn was asking to know the way to the Dun of Scaha. The youth taught him the way across the plain of ill luck which lay before him. On the hither half of the plain the feet of men would stick fast. On the further half the grass would rise and hold them fast on the points of its blades. The youth gave him a wheel and told him to follow its track thence across one half of the plain. He then gave him an apple and told him to follow the ground where the apple would run, and that in such wise he would reach the far end of the plain. Thus Cu Chulainn went across the plain. He then proceeded further. The youth had also told him there was a large glen before him, and a single narrow path through it, which was full of monsters that had been sent by Forgal to destroy him, and that was his road to the house of Scaha, across terrible high, strong districts. Each of them then wished a blessing on the other, Cu Chulainn and the youth. He it was who taught him how he should win honor in the house of Scaha. The same youth also foretold him what he would suffer of hardships and straits in the cattle spoil of Culnia. He also told him what evil and exploits and contests he would achieve against the men of Erin. Then Cu Chulainn went on that road, across the plain of ill luck, and through the perilous glen, just as the youth had taught him. This was the road which Cu Chulainn took, to the camp where the scholars of Scaha were. He asked where she was. "In yonder island," said they. "Which way must I go to her?" said he. "By the bridge of the cliff," said they, "and no man can cross it before he has achieved valor. For on this wise was that bridge. It had 2 low heads and the mid-space, and whenever anybody would leap on its one head, the other head would lift itself up and throw him on his back." Cu Chulainn then tried 3 times to cross the bridge, and could not do it. The men jeered at him. He then grew mad, and jumped on the head of the bridge, and made the hero salmon leap, so that he got on its midst. And the other head of the bridge had not yet fully raised itself when he reached it, and threw himself from it, and was on the ground of the island. He went to the dun, and struck the door with the shaft of his spear, so that it went through it. Scaha was then told. "True," said she, "someone who has achieved valor somewhere else." And from her she sent her daughter to know who the youth was. Then Uathuk, the daughter of Scaha, went forth. She looked at him, but did not speak to him. So much did the striking shape which she saw on the youth move her desire. She went back to where her mother was, and praised to her the man whom she had seen. "The man has pleased thee," said her mother. "I see it by thee." "It is true," said the maiden. "He has pleased me." "Sleep thou with him tonight, if that is what thou askest." "It is indeed not unpleasant to me," said Scaha, "if it be thy own will." Then the maiden served him with water and food, and looked to his pleasure. She made him bodily welcome in the shape of a servant, profiting by it. Cu Chulainn took hold of her and broke her finger. The maiden shrieked. The whole household came to help, and the people of the dun also. Then arose also a champion against him, a warrior of Scaha's. He and Cu Chulainn attacked each other, and fought together for a long time. Then the champion remembered his feats of valor, and Cu Chulainn returned them as if he had been taught them from his youth. And the champion fell by him, and he struck his head off. Sorrowful was the woman Scaha at this. Then Cu Chulainn said to her he would take upon himself the work and service of the men that had fallen, so that he was to be the leader of her host and the champion in his stead. And Uathach came then, and conversed with Cu Chulainn. On the third day, the maiden advised Cu Chulainn that if it was to achieve valor he had come, he should go through the hero's salmon leap at Scaha, where she was teaching her 2 sons in the great yew tree, that he should then set his sword between her 2 breasts until she gave him 3 wishes, to teach him without neglect, and that he might wed Uathach without the payment of a wedding gift, and to tell him what would befall him, for she was a prophetess. Then Cu Chulainn went to the place where Scaha was. He placed his 2 feet on the edges of the basket of the cless, and bared his sword, and put its point to her heart, saying, "Death over thee," said he. "Thy 3 wishes from me," said she. "Thy 3 wishes as thou canst utter them in one breath." "They shall be taken," said Cu Chulainn. Then he pledged her. Uathach then slept with Cu Chulainn, and Scaha taught him the skill of arms. During the time that he was with Scaha and the husband of Uathach her daughter, a certain famous man who lived in Munster, Lugath mac Nois, son of Almac, the renowned king and foster brother of Cu Chulainn, went eastward with 12 chariot chiefs of the high kings of Munster to woo 12 maidens of the men of Mac Rossa. All these were betrothed to men before. When Forgal the wily heard this, he went to Tara, and said to Lugath that the best maiden in Erin, both in shape and in chastity and handiwork, was living with him unmarried. Lugath said it pleased him well. Then Forgal betrothed the maiden to the king, and the 12 daughters of the 12 lords of the land of Bray besides, to the 12 under-kings that were together with Lugath. The king went along with Forgal to his dun for the wedding. When now Emer was brought to Lugath to sit by his side, she took in both her hands his 2 cheeks, and laid it on the troth of his honour and his life, and confessed that it was Cu Chulainn she loved, that Forgal was against it, that it was loss of honour for anyone to take her to wife. Then, from fear of Cu Chulainn, Lugath did not dare sleep with Emer, and he returned home again. Scaha was at that time carrying on war against other tribes, over which the Princess Aoife was ruling. Then the 2 hosts assembled to fight. Cu Chulainn was put in bonds by Scaha, and a sleeping potion had been given him before, that he might not go to the battle lest anything should happen to him there. As a precaution she did this. Then forthwith out of his sleep started Cu Chulainn after an hour. While anybody else would have slept 24 hours with this sleeping potion, it was only 1 hour for him. He then went with 2 sons of Scaha against 3 warriors of Aoife's. Alone he met them all 3, and they fell by him. There was a meeting and battle on the next morning, and both hosts went until the 2 arrays were face to face. Then went 3 other warriors of Aoife, and began combat against the 2 sons of Scaha. They went on the path of feats. Scaha uttered a sigh at this, for she knew not what would come of it. First, as there was no 3rd man with her 2 sons against those 3, and then she was afraid of Aoife, because she was the hardest woman warrior in the world. Then Cu Chulainn went up to her 2 sons, and sprang on the path, and met them all 3, and they fell by him. Aoife challenged Scaha to combat. Cu Chulainn went up before Aoife, and asked what it was she loved most. Scaha said, "What she loves most," said she, "is her 2 horses, and her chariot, and her charioteers." Cu Chulainn and Aoife went on the path of feats, and began combat there. Then Aoife shattered Cu Chulainn's weapon, so that his sword was no longer than his fist. "Ah," cried he, "the charioteer of Aoife and her 2 horses and her chariot have fallen down in the glen, and have all perished." At that Aoife looked up. Then Cu Chulainn approached her, and seized her at her 2 breasts, took her on his back like a shoulder-load, and carried her with him to his own host. Then he threw her from him to the ground, and placed his bare sword over her. And Aoife said, "Life for life, O Cu Chulainn." "My 3 wishes to me," said he. "Thou shalt have them as they come with thy breath," said she. "These are my 3 wishes," said he. "Thou to give hostage to Scaha without ever afterwards opposing her. Thou be with me this night before thy done, and to bear me a son." "I promise it all thus," said she. And it was done in that wise. Cu Chulainn then went with Aoife and slept with her that night. Then Aoife said she was with child, and that she would bear a boy. I shall send him this day 7 years to Erin, said she, and do thou leave a name for him. Cu Chulainn left a golden finger ring for him, and said to her that he should go and seek him in Erin when the ring would fit his finger. And he said that Conla was the name to be given to him, and told her that he should not make himself known to anyone, that he should not go out of the way of any man, nor refuse combat to any man. Thereupon Cu Chulainn returned back again to his own people, and came along the same road. He met an old woman on the road who was blind in her left eye. She asked him to beware, and not be on the road before her. He said there was no room for a footing for him, save on the cliff of the sea which was beneath him. She besought him to leave the road to her. Then he left the road, except that his toes clung to it. When she passed over him, she hit his great toe to throw him off the path down the cliff. He noticed it, and leapt the hero's salmon leap up again, and struck the woman's head off. She was the mother of the 3 last warriors that had fallen by him, and, in order to destroy him, had come to meet him. Thereafter the hosts went with Scaha to her own land, and hostages were given by her to Aoife, and Cu Chulainn stayed there for the day of his recovery. After the full lore of his soldierly arts with Scaha had passed for Cu Chulainn, as well as the apple feat, the thunder feat, the blade feat, the fian feat, and the spear feat, the rope feat, the body feat, the cat's feat, the salmon feat of a chariot chief, the throw feat of the staff, the jump over, the whirl of a brave chariot chief, the spear of the bellows, the boy of swiftness, the wheel feat, the other feat, the breath feat, the brudgime, the hero's whoop, the blow, the counterblow, running up a lance, and riding the body on its point, the scythed chariot, and the heroes twisting round the points of spears. Then came a message to him to return to his own land, and he took leave. Then Scaha told him what would befall him in the future, and sang to him the seer's large shining ken, and spake these words. From Thomas Kinsilla's translation, here is Scaha's prophecy. I salute you, weary after triumph, battle eager, ice-hearted. Go where you'll find some comfort still, what comfort comes with most speed, what speed with most urgency, alone, no matter where you stand, dire danger at every hand, alone and ringed by envy. Crochan's heroes you destroy, some heroes you protect, others lie broken-necked. Your straight sword stabs behind you, stained with Sedanda's own gore. Red battle's distant roar, bones broken by the spear, horned herds hemmed in, the cruel club's hard edge, raw flesh battle's badge, cattle stolen out of breg, your country under bondage, cattle straying on the ways, for 5 tear-sodden days, hardship and a long sigh, one against an army, your own blood a red plague, splashed on many a smashed shield, on weapons and women red-eyed, the field of slaughter growing red, on chopped fresh ravens feed, the crow scours the plowed ground, the savage kite shall be found. Herds broken up in wrath, great hosts driving hordes, blood spilt in a great flood, Cu Chulainn's body wasted. There are bitter wounds to bear, and warriors to slaughter with your red stabbing spiked spear, grief and sorrow where you roam. Murderous on Mirthamne plain, playing at the stabbing game. Now the crafty champion comes, in rage against a broken wave, heroic in his mighty axe, and harsh scream and cruel heart. Let him come and women kill, and Maeve fight with Ailil. A bed of sickness lies in wait, your breast full of fierce hate. Hear the white-horned bull roar against the brown bull of Cuulainn. When will he come, and when force with sharp valor through the forest? Arise, versed in bloody spike and long sweeping strong stroke, and twisting run and lone attack shake off weakness and neglect. Arise once more and seize your arms, seasoned in the crafts of war. Proud striding raider pitiless, for Ulster's land and virgin women, rise now in all your force, with warlike cruel wounding shield and strong shafted curved spear, and straight sword dyed red, in dark gatherings of blood. Men in Alba will know your name, in winter night pity your wail. Aoife and Uathach will pity your sweet shape, changing bright body, stretched in sleep nobly broken. For 33 full years all your enemies are yours. You will keep for 30 years your sharp valor and your force. I will not add another year, nor tell more of your career. Full of triumph and women's love, what matter how short? I salute you. Then Cu Chulainn went in his ship to reach Erin. There were before them Conall Cranach and Logier levying the tribute, for there was tribute at that time from the isles of the foreigner to the men of Ulster. Then Cu Chulainn heard a wailing before him in the dun of the king. What lament is that? Said Cu Chulainn. The daughter of Ruadh is taken as tribute to the Fomori, they said. It is therefore that the wailing is in the dun. Where is the maiden? Said he. She's on the shore below, said they. Cu Chulainn went until he was near the maiden on the strand. He asked tidings of her. The maiden told him fully. Whence do the men come? Said he. From that distant island yonder, said she. Be not here in the sight of the robbers. He remained there, awaiting them, and killed the 3 Fomori in single combat, but the last man wounded him at the wrist. The maiden gave him a strip from her garment round his wound. He then went away without making himself known to the maiden. The maiden came to the dun and told her father the whole story. Thereafter Cu Chulainn came to the dun like every other guest. Then Conall and Logier welcomed him. Many in the dun boasted of having killed the Fomori, but the maiden did not believe them. A bath was then prepared by the king, and each one was brought to her separately. Then Cu Chulainn came like everybody else, and the maiden recognized him. I shall give the maiden to thee, said Ruadh. I shall pay her wedding gift myself. Not so, said Cu Chulainn. Let her come this day a year to Erin after me, if it be pleasant to her, and she will find me there. Cu Chulainn then came to Emain and told his adventures there. When he had cast his fatigue from him, he set out on the Rath of Fergal to seek Emer. He was a whole year near it, but could not approach her for the number of the watch. He came then at the end of 1 year. It is today, O Loig, said Cu Chulainn, we have our meeting with the daughter of Ruadh, but we know not the exact place, for we were not wise. Let us go, said he, to the border of the land. When they were on the shores of Loch Cuan, they beheld 2 birds on the sea. Cu Chulainn put a stone in his sling and aimed at the birds. The men ran up to them after having hit one of the birds. When they came up to them, this is what they saw. 2 women, the most beautiful in the world. These were the daughter of Ruadh and her handmaid. Evil is the deed thou hast done, O Cu Chulainn, said she. It was to meet thee we came. Thou hast hurt us. Cu Chulainn sucked the stone out of her with its clot of blood round it. I shall not wed thee now, said Cu Chulainn, for I have drunk thy blood. But I shall give thee to my companion here, to Luig of the red stripes. And it was done thus. Cu Chulainn then wanted to go to the Rath of Fergal, and the scythe chariot was prepared for Cu Chulainn that day. It was called the scythe chariot, from the iron scythes that were from it, or again because it was first invented by the Syrians. He then arrived at the Rath of Fergal, and jumped the hero's salmon leap across 3 ramparts so that he was on the ground of the dun. And he dealt 3 blows in the lists, so that 8 men fell from each blow, and 1 man escaped in the midst of each group of the 9. Fergal then made a leap onto the rampart of the Rath without, in fleeing from Cu Chulainn, and he fell and was without life. Cu Chulainn took Emer with him and her foster sister, with their 2 loads of silver and gold, and took a leap back again across the third rampart with the two maidens, and went forth. Cries were raised around them from every direction. Skermend rushed against them. Cu Chulainn killed her on the ford. Thence they came to Gloddath. There Cu Chulainn killed 100 men of them. Great is the deed which thou hast done, said Emer, to have killed 100 armed, able-bodied men. He reached Cu Chulainn. He dealt great angry blows on the hosts in that place, so that the streams of blood broke over it on each side. The height is a turf of blood through thee today, O Cu Chulainn, cried the maiden. The pursuers overtook them at the Boyne. Emer left the chariot. Cu Chulainn made a chase on the shore, so that the clods flew from the hooves of the horses across the ford northward. He made another chase northward, so that the clods flew from the hooves of the horses over the ford southward. Hence it is called the Ford of Two Clods. Now Cu Chulainn killed 100 on each ford, and he fulfilled the deeds that he had vowed to the maiden, and he came safely out of it, and reached Emain Macha, towards the darkness of that night. Emer was brought into the Red Branch to Conifer, and to the men of Ulster, and they bade her welcome. There was a grim, evil-tongued man of the men of Ulster in the house, Bricrew of the venomous tongue, the son of Arba. It was then he said, Forsooth, it will be disagreeable to Cu Chulainn what will happen tonight. The woman he brought with him will sleep with Conifer, for with him is the deflowering of virgins before the men of Ulster ever. Conifer grew mad when he heard that, and shook himself, so that the cushion burst which was under him, and his feathers were flying about the house. He went out then. This is very hard, said Cathfa, but it is an ordinance to the king to do everything that Bricrew has said. Cu Chulainn will slay him that will sleep with his wife. Let Cu Chulainn be called out to us, said Conifer, to know if we can soothe his wrath. Then Cu Chulainn came. Arise, said Conifer, and bring me the herds that I have in Slieve Fuadh. Then Cu Chulainn went, and drove together whatever he found in Slieve Fuadh, of swine and stags, and of every sort of fowl and game besides, and drove them in one drove with him to the meadow of Emain. Then his wrath departed from him. A council was held by the men of Ulster about this affair. This was the resolution they arrived at, that Emer was to sleep that night with Conifer, and Fergus and Cathfa in one bed with them, to watch over the honour of Cu Chulainn, and the men of Ulster should bless him if he accepted it. He did accept it, and it was done thus. Conifer paid Emer's wedding gift on the morrow, and Cu Chulainn's honour price was paid, and he slept then with his wife, and they did not separate after that until they both died.